Today is not only Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it is also Religious Freedom Day, and President Obama issued a proclamation for it, an excerpt. Part of being American means guarding against bigotry and speaking out on behalf of others, no matter their background or belief, whether they're wearing a hijab or a baseball cap or a yarmulke or a cowboy hat. Maybe that was a kind of a shot at Donald Trump. Come on in, please. Family Research Council Action President Tony Perkins. Tony, you're a critic of things the way they are. In what ways do we not have religious freedom right now?
Well, I mean, look, first of all, let me start with that proclamation. I left my cowboy hat at home, but let me say this. The president has the lingo down. In 8 years, he's learned the lingo, but his actions fall far short of holding up religious freedom. Look, let's talk about the Little Sisters of the Poor, an organization that helps the poorest in our society, where he persecuted them, prosecuted them because they didn't want to come in line with his politics on abortion and contraceptive. We look at organizations like Hobby Lobby, simply wanting to live out their faith. Religious freedom is not simply the ability to read the words of Scripture. It's the ability to live out the principles and the precepts found on the pages of Scripture in everyday life. That is what this president has dismantled policy by policy.
Now, I know that you've got strong views on what we should do to restore religious liberty. Number one, what would you do in the military?
Well, first, in the military, I think we have to bring back the idea that men and women who protect that fundamental freedom, that first freedom, have the same right to exercise it. That was, by the way, placed into law about 2 years ago. We worked to change the National Defense Authorization Act to ensure that men and women in the military have the freedom to live their faith, even when it contradicts with the president's liberal policies. Unfortunately, the law, not surprisingly, has not been upheld by this administration. So I'm optimistic that what we're going to see in this incoming administration, maybe not so much words, but actions that uphold religious freedom. The words are meaningless. This proclamation, meaningless. What we need is an administration that will return to the fundamental understanding of the freedom of religion. That is the freedom to live your life according to your faith, and that's what we're losing in this country.
What about in foreign policy? I'm very concerned that Christians who are clearly persecuted in the Middle East are not given free rein to come to America.
Well, Stuart, you and I have talked about this. We're both deeply disturbed by what has happened, where we have seen for the third consecutive year, according to Open Doors USA, a historic level of persecution of Christians around the globe. That has happened at really because America has lost its voice. Our State Department needs to make this, as it is statutorily stated, a priority once again. Rather than all of these liberal social engineering policies that we've been forcing on other countries, we need to return to advocating those values that made America an exceptional nation. And chief among those is the issue and the idea of religious freedom. And so that needs at the forefront of what our State Department is advocating around the world.
Tony Perkins, it's a big subject, a very important subject. You better come on back and explain it in some more detail. We'd like that. Tony, thank you, sir.
All right.
Got it.
Thank you, Stuart.